What's up, y'all? It is the 21st of May, 2025. My name is Evan Strong. I'm going to be back here a little bit more for this. The founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I'm going to get into all four of the sides of us, but this is our main side, In The Image Clothing Company, where it all started, okay? Keyword: allowing the human body to work. Yeah. This is gonna be quite the video. This is gonna be a video that's a little bit eye-opening to everybody who chooses to watch it, okay? Because the title of this is actually The Need to Turn Right. Holy cow. The need to turn right, okay? And I'll get into it. And what I mean by it's going to be eye-opening is you'll see that this just happens in life to everybody that it happens to. And I think that's the beautiful thing about all the things that we do talk about under In The Image Clothing Company. I always say, meaning very often, the phrase, don't believe us. Don't believe me, Evan Strong, as the founder, giving the information. We don't have to believe in anything. Truth is truth. Things are just what they are. And there's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled Believe It or Not, Don't. But what's so cool is we just discuss things as they are. And so the things that we talk about, you can see within your own life. You can see within the people around you. And if you're watching television, if you're watching movies, it happens, okay? People can't actually turn right very well, and I'll go over a lot of the reasons why and the actual reasons. And as I say, being who I am, right, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. It's the only thing placed on us physically. So I'll talk about each of the four sides of us in The Image Clothing Company, and I'll talk about where clothing has to sit. And then we'll get into discussing this, and I'll do some visuals with my own body and show the rotations and what's going on, okay? And why clothing isn't allowing us to turn right as a society, okay? Yeah, so the human body, okay, it has a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, naturally stabilizing our entire body. It has to stay in the center on Earth's gravity because there's a center of gravity. The body is just about neutrals. It really is about the skeletal system and a neutral position in all of our joints, and there the body just works. The fat content changes and so does the muscle mass, so we don't even need to focus on those things because the only way they're allowed to even be there anyway is if there's a foundational skeletal frame. That's all musculature does, is move the skeletal system, okay? So clothing's placed on us, and it has to stay centered, fit correct, where I'll discuss in a minute here, and ideally be made from 100% natural materials because the human body is. And that's how we do our key phrase, keyword: allowing the human body to work, okay? In The Image Clothing Company, clothing will always have those things behind the intent of our designs, and it'll just be good, okay? InTheImageClothingCompany.com, where all four sides of the clothing company of us come to. Holy cow. It's funny because we're a clothing company, but we have three sides that is not human being clothing as well. So another one of our fourths is In The Image Clothing Company Music, and I show the sizing and setup of guitars to not alter our body. I'm a fingerstyle guitarist, I sing, I make music placed on In The Image Clothing Company music. Our hands are essentially our shoulders, as our feet are essentially our hips. The human body can only work activated as a whole because it's all connected. So anywhere any of it goes, all of it has to come. There's no compensation that can happen within it. That just wouldn't work. You can't drag around dead weight and then have the thing that's dragging the weight be operating properly, okay? So another fourth of us is In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and I get into deep, blunt, raw, real, bold, offensive, sometimes, discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're all human beings on the same earth, and we all have one God, and so we just discuss it as it is. As of last night, we're on episode 122 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. Check it out, okay? The last fourth that I haven't mentioned yet here is In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. We specialize in purebred standard poodles, but our slogan is letting dogs stay natural. We talk about things that do apply to every dog on the earth. Yeah, but specializing in poodles, okay? Standard size specific. We just let dogs live in this modern man-made world while they're a natural animal, okay? There's unnatural flooring, slippery and flat for the dog's feet, dehydrated kibble, the water's been extracted from it, unnatural materials and toys that are going into dogs' mouths, products that are going on to dogs made out of the same materials, imbalances in collars, leashes, harnesses, anything placed onto the dog when they have a center line as well, a spine, a trachea, a nose, right? Gravity still pulls on them the same. We debunk myths of why dogs don't listen, things that are placed onto them like noisy collars and they just have distraction. We do a lot of things, a lot of advocacy for proper breeding and proper ownership of dogs, taking accountability as owners of dogs. And we have to come, as of today's date, our In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, standard poodle, purebred breeding program, okay? 4 puppies we will have available. AKC registration for every dog that comes through in the Image Clothing Company Poodles breeding program, which is the American Kennel Club, okay? It's like having a birth certificate for your dog. One of the things we do, right? Advocating for purebred dogs and actually registering dogs, and why that really is important and not just something that is what some people think that it is. It's not like a prestigious thing. There's a lot of reasons as to why. There's actually a video I made on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles titled The Need for AKC Registering, okay? And I went over it in depth actually in that video. So yes, that's a lot of what we do, a lot of what we are, okay? Now, in addition to human being clothing, we also will have dog products on InTheImageClothingCompany.com is what it is. Yeah, that's where everything's placed, okay? Staying centered on the dogs, made of 100% natural materials in the ways that we can, and yeah, just not altering the dogs, okay? So clothing for everybody has to sit in the same location because we're just what we are. Man or woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, any age or any part of the earth, any time period ever. Human beings are the same thing, always, truly, from Adam, the first man, till everyone that ever exists, okay? Pants need to be entirely above the hips, so there's no restriction to the functionality of our pelvis. Slightly higher in the front than the rear for the waistband angle to keep our core muscles, as they would always and only ever could work, activated. Unless altered, that's how the body would be, because that's the only way it could move across the earth. And our tops that we wear have to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders, with the seams that are on top of our shoulders, because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. That's just where they connect, okay? I've gone over it in depth in many, many videos under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. You can go check out if you'd like to. Shoulders naturally sit behind the head. Shoulder seams follow shoulders. Well, no. Shoulders follow shoulder seams. The dreaded collar seam modification under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. These are videos that talk about the shoulders and their only neutral sitting position, okay? So, yes, 2 things we have as prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company I will discuss, but I didn't say this yet. The edge seams need to just be right at the edges of our shoulders, okay? Just where the functionality of the joint is, because that's where it functions. I wore oversized clothing for years and years and years and years. My body got into what we get out of here, deeply ingrained scar tissue and patterning, and a lot of damage happened to it, okay? It's reversible, definitely, and that's really why we have In the Image Clothing Company. So, yes, our 2 prerequisites. Removing all tags is one of them, because tags placed in clothing didn't even exist decades back from today's date, first off, but they're causing a physical gap wherever they're placed in clothing, just not allowing the body to work, changing its only working position, and or just not allowing the musculature to activate against the tags. Even in shoes, remove every tag. This is one of those times when I used to say so often, like, and I can tell you that, right? Like how I say there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's the truth, and I can tell you that. Yeah, no matter of what your physical therapist or your chiropractor or your orthopedic surgeon, your personal trainer has said. No, there's only, I mean, it's a mechanical machine, okay? So, yes. Levers, hinges, rotations, center line, neutrals, Earth's gravity, Okay, that's how I discuss it because it's just what it is. And secondly, our other prerequisite is to remove all, not that, that's the one I normally say second. In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. And this is going to be huge for this video to like see thoroughly. I mean, no matter who you are, there's only one way to weave a rope across the top of the mechanics of our human feet without altering their only workings. But for this specifically, showing what it means to actually turn right, yes, lacing our shoes the only way they're shaped, first. And then secondly, as I say, just along with the technique, we tie shoes as well as lace them. The lacing really affects the ability for the arch's natural positioning to be there in the feet, but then we tie knots that affect rotations that can potentially travel up to the tip of our head and the tip of our fingers if we're not tying our shoes evenly over toward the center line on both feet, because there is two sides to the human being. And there's so many imbalances within clothing that will cause you to feel like it might work better to be working around the clothing imbalances if you were to tie shoes imbalanced, but your whole body will be rotated. It's literally just a rope. That's why I word it the way that I do so often. Weaving a rope across the top of the human feet, we call them shoelaces as human beings, right? It's literally just tying a knot around your feet and slash ankle, so they have to be opposing on both feet. It just has to be. There's a center line to the human being on Earth's gravity, okay? So I was 24 before I started tying my shoes evenly. That was just last year. Actually, that's crazy that it was only last year. Just, it seems like it's been at least a little bit longer than that, but no, yeah, it was. Well, somewhere right around there at least. But anyway, yeah, we need that to be the case, first and foremost at our foundation. For this video, like I'm saying, you're using your feet to turn. And I'm gonna show a lot of visual with this and discuss a lot of things that really, really affect the inability to turn right as human beings, okay? So, let's get into it, because yeah, we did the intro. Now, this is the whole thing. The center line has to stay there because we have internal rotation and we have external rotation, okay? The body really is about rotations. I talk about how posture doesn't exist. There's no such thing. You just have a mechanical machine here, the human being, placed on Earth, and God designed it to work. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Designed to Work. And it's only ever going to do what it's going to do, with every joint just having a neutral position and only being able to reside in that. Otherwise, it's just damaged, okay? So the body will just stand on Earth because it's designed to, unless there's something inhibiting it or altering it. But what happens within people's bodies is a rotation issue. If this is my pelvis here, meaning my hips, if we have like a drawstring, okay, look up how drawstrings affect body mechanics under In the Image Clothing Company. I show the slipped lap knot, LAPP. That's what I show as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company for us to use for drawstrings, because it keeps us entirely horizontal at the hips. If you're tying ropes, okay, I say this, when you introduce ropes to the body, there's potential rotation issues happening to the tip of the head, to the tips of the toes, and the tips of the fingers from a knot being tied around us, okay? So, the slipped lap knot, look up how to do it under In the Image Clothing Company, we show it. But, yes, if you tie a drawstring and you rotate your whole pelvis just because you're putting one side of a rope over the other side, and that's just rotating your whole pelvis, okay, then you're in a twist. And so people don't actually have forward posture because that just wouldn't happen. There's a center of gravity to everything. A tree, a building, a human being, a dog, anything that's on Earth. And not only left to right, as I talk about the center things of the human being, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, the jaw, but forward and back, there's just a center to gravity's pull on us. And as long as you're standing on your own 2 feet, or maybe your own 1 foot, or however you're standing, if it's on yourself, down at the base of your own legs, then you can only stand above your own feet. Otherwise, you just can't. So there's no such thing as actually forward posture, because you would just fall. What it is it's a rotation, and your body is kind of twisted, and your whole spine is just forward a little bit like this. Because you see people's right shoulder's forward and dropped. People's right side is more external than their left. Even at their hands, you can see it when they stand. Okay, and look at my foot. External on the right, you're kind of like this. I'm not actually forward, I'm still over my center of gravity, but I'm just twisted and kind of like falling into a twist to the degree that my body just can hold itself, because gravity still just has a center, forward, back, left, right, all angles, okay? So that's why I can say, and that's just how it is, the truth, clothing is the only fix for human beings' physical problems of any kind. Even going to internal things, because you twist your whole body, your feet, then up to your pelvis, then your spine, then to your shoulders, then out to your hands, and to the tip of your head. Here you are, as so many human beings on the earth look, right? Because of all the things that we talk about, and I'll get into a lot of them in here, but there's just no such thing as getting posture from here. You need to be centered before you can actually have 2 opposing sides of your body just work, okay? Because I haven't said this within this video, but we have gripped arches in our feet. They grip inward. They keep us vertical, okay? And so if one of your feet is just tied wrong, just different than the other side, and opposing the only way that it could grip inward, then your whole body will just be twisted from its foundation on Earth's gravity. And that's all it is, right? That's why I say, like, we haven't reinvented the wheel, as in the Image Clothing Company, and it really isn't anything to do with us, because you don't have to purchase anything from us, and you don't have to believe what we talk about. We just show what's going on. It's literally that obvious, because I say the phrase, it's as obvious as it is once you see it, right? And it's as real as it gets. Those are phrases I say because there's no opinion to any of this at all, period, and done, at all. So here's the thing, and the reason I have like a little bit of like, kind of like pointing my finger at you, is because people don't believe this, but you don't need to. I just show things as they are. There's no possible dispute or opinion to what we talk about with the human being's physical functions and their inability to under In The Image Clothing Company, okay? So, yeah, it's unreal, actually. We need to be able to turn right. And in order to turn right, you actually have to look left. Check this out. Okay? When you turn right, your head goes left. Just like if I turn left, my head goes right, because the whole body is twisted, okay? And that's beautiful. See what my hands do? If I turn left, which is something that's so much more commonly done in human beings, okay? Watch what my rotations do at my hands. Remember, the hands are essentially the shoulders, the feet are essentially the hips. When I turn left, my body rotates to its right, meaning more external on the right and more internal on the left. Because imagine grabbing like a pole and pulling yourself to the left. You're going to rotate like this. If you need to rotate right, or just turn right, you'll grab something with your right hand and pull it to pull across your body to get you right. And now you'll be more internal on the right and more external on the left, okay? Like this. Okay? So people can't turn right because the center line of the human being needs the edges of it, like the right shoulder to the center line and then the left shoulder to the center line, to be at the same distance, okay, from the center. Yeah. Oversized clothing will just fall to your dominant side, okay? There's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled The Right-Handed World. We talk about that often because that's the case. Products that are made to be used by human beings are geared toward people who are right-handed. Anything that you're going to be using one hand with more than the other that they design on this earth, okay? And then we're just using the right side of our body more than the left. Things like the dreaded collar seam under In the Image Clothing Company, right? Look it up. Our modification for the dreaded collar seam, In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, right? It's just going to place the left side higher and the right side farther away from its own center line, okay? These upper trapezius muscles here that connect to the very base of the rear of the skull, along the spine of the neck, which is called the cervical spine, and then to the top/rear of the shoulder, when they contract, they go both up and in at the same time, okay? And so they actually cause internal rotation, okay? And so keeping collars centered is a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here, and you will never, with a collar seam in any top you wear, okay? Unless it's modified to be sitting evenly with the rest of the collar that doesn't have that excess material, okay? And you see it in life, like I'm saying, no belief to have, just look around. People's collars will be sitting off to the right of their neck like this, hanging down on the right collarbone. There's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled The Right Collarbone. There's one titled The Right Elbow, The Right Pelvis Crest, keeping hands the same size, okay? Because it's the right side of the body that gets so inhibited, okay? So we need the right side to contract closer to its own center and more internal to get us to turn right. You can see what's happening with my whole spine twisting as I just rotate and contract my right side here. All the muscles back here on our upper back, same thing. They need to be able to get from this chronically external position to a good contracted internal rotation position. Now you're centered, okay? And now you can just have the ability to turn right. And you can see the visual with my hand. That's kind of why I do that. Internal rotation here at the forearm turns you right, okay? There's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled Keeping Short Sleeves Short, okay? And if you can't get your arm to bend at the elbow all the way closed without hitting your short sleeve, then it's not going to be able to work proper, okay? Things will be compensating for the inability to do that. Like your upper trapezius muscle will be elongated, okay? And just your whole body will then rotate external. Yikes. Okay, so but here's the thing with the forearm is there's actually another video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company titled Internal Rotation at the Forearm. And I went over how there's two bones in our arms and they just rotate like this, one over the other. And as they do, the forearm actually gets higher when it comes internal, and internal rotation is across the body, and that's how we turn right. Okay? Now at the feet, if I'm on just one of my legs, then I can turn, but really only to the side that I'm standing with the weight on. Like right now, I'm on my right foot, I can turn right, as long as I have the ability to internally rotate my right foot. So again, that's just a knot around your ankle that has to be tied in the only way that your foot would ever be able to work and grip and arch inward, because the feet are the hands, okay? The ankles are the wrist, the knees are the elbow, the hips are the shoulders. That's seriously how the human body is, and when we can see it, it's just so easy to see, okay? And there's a neutral in the body. As I say, in every joint there just is. The neutral feet, just like the neutral hand and wrist is straight out from the pinky finger, down at our feet is straight out from our pinky toes. Gripped arches put our pinky toes pointing forward. Okay, I'll walk backwards so you can see. And from there, you can grip that right foot arch and turn yourself right. Okay, on my left foot, I can grip that left foot arch and turn myself left. Okay, but the internal rotation is what's so essential. Because if I were to try to turn it with external rotation, it'll just open my body up and deactivate so much of my whole body is really what will happen. If I was on my right foot and I tried to turn left by externally rotating my right foot, my core will deactivate, my whole body will just open up, because watch what happens. My hips open up and I go like this, right? And you fall into nothing, basically. Rather than internal rotation, you're gripping inward, okay? That noise is fine, but I also prefer to be closer to the camera anyway for the video. But that's why I talk about internal rotation so much, okay? Because deactivation in the body will just put you into external rotation. So we need to focus on internal rotation, and I'll reference some videos. Let's see if we can have a little bit less noise before I do. These people are moving, so unless they're coming in here, they'll probably get farther away. There's a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here titled Internal rotation is closed yet open. A closing at the extremities, hands working with the fingers in line and feet gripping arches inward, then opens the shoulder capsule, okay, and the hip capsule. From the hand up to the shoulder, from the foot up to the hip, okay? And there's also a video titled There Is a Lot to Internal Rotation, because there just is. There's a lot going on in the ways that there is. The point of referencing those videos though within this is just, we focus on internal rotation so much, and you have to be able to internally rotate the side of your body that you're trying to turn toward, okay? As I'm showing. All my weight's on my right foot, and I rotate it, okay? And then I can turn to the same side. And there's a lot of things in addition to just the shoelace, in addition to just the dreaded collar seam under In The Image Clothing Company, that are doing those things. Because really anything that puts the right side more external, more away from its own center line, you're not going to be able to just get rotation internally to the right, because there's just things pulling the right side away from where it would need to contract to turn. So like the stitch on the rear of pants that goes like this, okay, your pelvis then is being pressed forward on the right side because the stitch is just in front on the right side, right? And this stitch on the rear of the pants comes down. And so then that's like it's pushing your pelvis forward on the right, and that's just going to externally rotate the whole right side of your body. Because when I do internally rotate my right side like this, right, what I'm doing is tucking my right glute back like this, okay? And so you'll notice everybody turns left, give or take. I don't want to say everybody, but racing, right? Car racing, running around a track, foot racing, ice skating rinks, roller blading or roller skating rinks. They're almost always going left because people's right feet are tied external on the right. And so now you're just only able to rotate on your left foot internally. So you'll be going around the ice skating rink to the left. You'll be going around anything that you're just turning left, okay? So hard for people to go right. I mean, it's nearly impossible to even do it physically because of a knot. I mean, a literal rope around your right foot, putting it in the opposite direction of the way it needs to be, okay? And that's just, like I'm saying, the shoelacing alone and tying. Yeah, but then the drawstring, right? I mean, you tie a right-handed drawstring knot, and it's putting your pelvis like this. Watch. Okay? Opening up, externally rotating this right side of the body. And now you're never going to be able to turn right because you're already in a position where you're turning left. I mean, you're chronically in a position where you're like halfway, well, give or take halfway turned left because of the things within clothing, because of the right-handed patterning within clothing design, because of the right-handed world. Okay? So it's just how it is. People need to be able to turn right. Now the dreaded collar seam, it's just stiff and back here. So to turn right, you need to be able to externally rotate your left side, as I've been showing, right? Like this. Okay? And this stiffness right behind the left shoulder just doesn't allow this left side to externally rotate. And so you can't turn your head to the left to look, and you can't turn right, okay? Because there's just stiffness on the collar seam if it's on the upper left side, which it almost always is. Again, just look in your own life. Don't believe any of this, please. But just, it is what it is. So, yeah, right. I mean, we just need things out of the way so our body just can turn right. If people jump and do a 360, I haven't done a 360 in a long time. They'll almost always go left. And again, try it yourself. See if you can turn right. You need to be able to, just because there's a center line to the human being on Earth's gravity, okay? And so we need to be able to turn right as easy as we can turn left. We need to be able to do this, right? There's a title of one of In the Image Clothing Company's main side videos, eating and drinking with the left hand. It's essentially like turning right. I had to like think about what I was doing because it's not even so comfortable for me, at least yet, because I have almost always been eating with my right hand. It's like turning left, right? You eat with your left hand, and it's like you're turning right because it's the same rotation, right? So, yikes. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just as real as it gets. Okay, things need to be centered in our whole body because if they are imbalanced, in just about every single case ever, it's to the right, okay? And now you're turning left, okay? There's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company titled The Left Groin, okay? Because in pants, there's a stitch in the zipper flap behind our zippers that protect our bodies from the zipper. And I show under the video titled How Zippers Affect Body Mechanics when it comes to In the Image Clothing Company. We cut that little stitch out so that that flap isn't closing off the left side of our pant leg and the volume there, right? The space that we have for our left leg versus our right, because closing off that left side is essentially just internally rotating that left foot. So it's like turning us left, okay? And we need to be able to open up the left so that we can turn right. Okay? So it's just as real as it gets. I could reference anything and everything that goes into this when it comes to clothing, but I'm sure there's a lot of noise, and it's fine. But yeah, okay. By the way, I don't run. This is a shirt that I bought used. This is not anything from me. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. Even right now, my feet are pretty well apart, but they're internal, and I'm centered and I'm stacked over the center of gravity. And from here, I have the ability to just rotate either direction because both my feet are just gripped. So I can just turn right, okay? Or I can just turn left. And so, there you go, okay? But you can watch, like I said, you're watching on a screen and you're viewing human beings, okay? Movies, TV shows, whatever it is. And if you see people turn around and like walk away, they'll be like, right, like I picture somebody's like upset and they turn and walk the other direction, they'll turn left. Except I notice often actors and actresses will actually do it to the right, because to be an actor and an actress, you have to have pretty good control, quote unquote, over your body to be able to like play a role, right? And so they actually, it's funny, you notice actors and actresses, like, yeah, they stay pretty well centered, and it's different than most all other people on the earth. And so what I have noticed is they will intentionally have actors turn right and actresses. It's also just something that we see, and it seems different to us because we don't see it. It's hard for people to do, so they just don't do it. I mean, like, turning right like that is just something that's so hard to do. There's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled "Things Need to Fit in Our Hands," and we're just using things that are so big in our right hand. If we're right hand dominant, we're just like essentially turning left, right? Rather than turning right by having things in our left hand. And so, yeah, and also it's just an external rotation when your palm's up, okay? So, see what I mean? It's just as real as it gets. So when I say, like, we don't just talk about clothing, but we talk about clothing for the sake of the human body. We talk about eating, standing, sleeping, hydration, walking, all the things, seriously, that we do physically as a human being, because once you know how it works, you just let it. And so this is what I mean, you know, we're doing everything we ever do within clothing, and if it's not balanced, like, see how these seams are evenly opposing my center line, right? You'll notice people in their right shoulder seam will be down here farther than their left, and then if they bend their arms, or you can try this, their right sleeve, if it's short, might be hitting their forearm, and their left one might not be, right? Again, dreaded collar seam. There you go. And now you're turning. Wow. It's confusing to try to, like, just do it as it would be, because my body's not in that patterning anymore. But anyway, then it just would cause you to turn left and not be able to turn right. So yeah, all of these things. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled "Mind the Gap," and I went over a lot of things. One of them was the gap here on the right side, because if you do just have an oversized something top-wise that you're wearing, it's just going to cause a larger gap on your right side because of what I'm saying, right? It's just going to fall to the right, and then now you can't get to internal rotation to go right just because there's a gap there, okay? So there is so many things, and anything truly that's just an imbalance when there just has to be a center line. I used to say, no belief, no opinion, no yoga class, there's a center line to the human being, because we just don't know what we don't know, and we can't be held accountable for what we don't know, but it's just there. I mean, it just has to be. Your trapezius muscles, they connect from the outside of your edge of your shoulder here to the center of your spine, okay? And your mid trapezius and your rhomboids, your lower trapezius, your latissimus dorsi muscles, they come down and connect to your center line, which is your spine. Your adductors of your legs, they connect into your center line at your pelvis. Your abductors come up and they, well, pull your feet away from your center line. okay? There just has to be a center, because there just is one. And we need to be able to close the right side, okay? You'll notice people's pectoral muscles, and the right one's got a larger lower pectoral rather than the upper pectoral, because you're just lower over here anyway. External, lower, forward, farther away from the center. And now when you're doing anything in life, you're just training muscles imbalanced and just really, really reinforcing the imbalance, okay? Same with eating, like I say, about how the jaw stabilizes the entire body. There's a video that I made just a couple days ago under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here, titled "Workouts Don't Help the Jaw," okay? Because same thing. We need to get the right side internal to turn right. So our jaw, which stabilizes our whole body, has to stay in the center of us. Otherwise, you just will never be able to turn right. Like actually mechanically doing it, right? You can claim you're turning right with your shoes tied unevenly and you're like doing this. But I mean, like actually activating the muscles that cause you to actually do the motion. I said actually twice because, yeah, we're faking things as human beings mechanically. Not on purpose, but we're not actually looking left, right? Because you'll look right, then you'll look left. See what I mean? Compensation rather than just looking left. And we'll turn right rather than just like turning right. Because you just can't physically do it when there's things physically placed onto you that are just not allowing it to happen, okay? Yeah. So, okay. It's just as real as it gets. And this is another one of those times I'm going to say, that's why the videos are so long. Because I discuss things as thoroughly as I just did. So that there's no opinion. Because there's a lot of people preaching out there, do this, do that, your body will work. And it never could physically. I mean, it's just out of a human being's doings, right? There's nothing impossible with our God. But out of us, like it's impossible for us, out of our own doings, to try to get our bodies to stay centered within something placed on them imbalanced. I mean, it just never could happen out of like our doings. There's no way. So all the workout routines, right? And that's why I said at the beginning about the chiropractors, the personal trainers, the orthopedic people, I don't care, okay? Physical therapists, you don't know what you don't know is the whole point, okay? But here's a little context. I've said this where I have under In The Image Clothing Company content, but I had, I'll wait for the noise for just a little bit. When I was about 18 years old, I had immense shoulder pain. They called it subacromial shoulder impingement, okay? The subacromial, the shoulder capsule basically, where the collarbone comes up, it'll pinch because you're just in a position where your shoulder doesn't work because you're clothing, truly. And so I went to physical therapy for months and it didn't really help. I also had what they called contramalacia patella. They call it, yeah, all sorts of things. IT band syndrome, runner's knee, it's all basically the same thing. Really all it means is your knee's not tracking in line. If you have ropes around your feet, your knees never could, okay? If you have drawstring around your waist, twisting your whole pelvis, your knees never could, okay? If you have oversized clothing on the top, it just travels down. The body's all one, so then you just never could have your knees tracking in line. And I spent thousands of dollars at physical therapy and, you know, months going there multiple times a week, and it didn't help me in that time. But, you know, then quite a few years later, a lot of the pain just sort of, you know, dissipated some, but then I found it in the Image Clothing Company, and now and then now my body just works. I mean, yeah, I mean, even your physical therapist, I'm not comparing, but just for the sake of just the truth and who's giving it. And, you know, I didn't decide it, and so it's not anything to do with me, but just in the Image Clothing Company, we just discuss things as they are. Most physical therapists don't even have the shoulder rotations that are just naturally given by God. right? And same with the stretching. I don't stretch, and you just can't. It's impossible to stretch the body. I'll get into it. Yeah. There's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled Muscles Only Contract, and that's the case. Every muscle just contracts, okay? And so you can never stretch the body without just opposing the only way that it could ever work. But here's the catch, meaning this is the reason why people try to stretch. Stretch within clothing didn't even exist decades back and then ever before then. And stretch in clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work, which is shortening, okay? So this is what I mean. Sometimes I like dog on people, right? I'm like, you darn physical therapists and your chiropractors, but if they don't know, they don't know, because it's kind of like, how could you know, right? I mean, you buy clothing, and why wouldn't it just work for your body when that's why it's been designed by the clothing designer, is to be worn, you know? It just doesn't make sense. But that's what that's what I say when I do dog on these people, right? These quote unquote specialists, and I say I have a problem with specialists, and I do. It's because they miss the point that the body is designed to work. A lot of times people are looking for things to try to get their body to do something, and you can never get your body to do anything. You literally cannot. It's just a machine. It only has operations. And what people miss is, first of all, that the body only could ever work as a whole. So you train part of your body all you want, and the rest of it's still there, just as inhibited as it was before you trained the part that's not that, okay? But also, the body has to reside in its neutrals, always, unless doing something else, and then it will always come back, okay? And so, if you're not training, yeah, well, you can't train the body is the point, but people will train their bodies in positions like this, and your body only has one neutral, always and only, ever. And I didn't decide any of this. I don't think that I'm like trying to tell you how it is. I'm just telling you how it is, apart from me, right? Truth is truth. Truth is apart from all of us. We didn't design it. We can't decide it, is an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. But it literally is just what it is. And so there you go, okay? Yeah, shoot. It's crazy. It's crazy because this is why In The Image Clothing Company is huge. Because it's not to do with us by any means, right? It couldn't be. I could never take credit for any of this. It's not my design. It's God's design, truly. I mean, actually. So there you go, okay? Turning right and the need to. Yeah. You just notice, right? When you can see what it means to turn right and look left, then you can see just when people do things in life, in sports, in anything that we do physically as a human being, they're unable to turn right, actually mechanically, with it like properly happening the way that it is happening when you're turning left, because there's just two opposing sides, okay? So there you go. I guess that's what I'll say. And this is one of those ones where it's like, I could wrap it up now, or I could sit here for another 3 hours and talk about more things mechanically and within clothing, you know, but I just don't know for sure. Yeah, you know, I mean, we've got In The Image Clothing Company as Evan Strong's lifelong thing. I mean, I'm here for the long haul, you know. I'm playing the long game, as I say in that episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. I'm gonna be here, okay? We'll have poodles, and Nita, my first dog, she'll be here. It's just gonna be cool, right? So I think that's the whole point. Is it's not like if I don't say something in this video or any of these videos that I'll never get to give the information again. No, we're just furthering, we're just deepening as we go, unless I die tonight or tomorrow or next week or even before this cuts, and then I'm just like bleeding out on the ground for some reason. Holy cow, right? But I just mean, it's as real as it gets, and it will never change, okay? Every human to ever live, this is always the case. No matter what, okay? So, there you go. Just, I mean, yeah, okay? Sweet. I'll wrap it up. I'll wait for this. Yeah, yeah. It's literally speechless. I mean, that's real, because it's just crazy. So, here's the here's the thing, okay? Events. In the Image Clothing Company Poodle Parade events. Everything's scheduled under InTheImageClothingCompany.com, as I said. Standard purebred poodles, miniature purebred poodles, toy purebred poodles, okay? Purebred poodles of any size and or poodle mixes of any size as the only dog breeds ever allowed in the Image Clothing Company Poodle Parade events. But we will get together where we do at parks or on hikes, on walks, hang out, talk about letting dogs stay natural, and just hang out. I think I just said that, but I love poodles, specifically standard size, okay? And so we'll just have a good time and hang out with the dogs. And, you know, talking about, yeah, all the things that we do on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, but then in person, okay? So, yeah, I'm so excited for that. I mean, like, immensely. But then all the events under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company as well, where I do this, but with people in person, right? And we'll also talk about our products under In the Image Clothing Company there at those events, and, well, yeah, just where we do, right? So just check the scheduling always on InTheImageClothingCompany.com. It will always be clear where they are, right? Times, what to bring, what's not allowed, stuff like this, okay? So, yeah, man, really cool, all right? I was thinking as I was walking over here, I'm like, I want to do something kind of cool, like parkour type thing. I used to do a lot of flips, as I've, you know, talked about a little bit under In the Image Clothing Company content. Gainers, Websters, front flips, back flips, side flips. And I don't really do it anymore, you know, at least as of right now. But I was thinking, like, it'd be cool to do something to just show my body works. Because a lot of times in these videos, it's not a bad thing by any means, but I'm just standing here as I am now. And I think it is really good for people to see that I have a lot of physical capability, because I'm talking about how there's only one way the human body could ever work, and there really is. And I'm saying it out of personal experience, and I'm preaching what I have practiced, as I say, right, on the back end. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled that, maybe not exactly word for word, but yes, right? So, I don't know what I would do, but anyway, there you go, okay? We need to be able to turn right, and we just do. I'm gonna do some kind of cartwheel thing. I like that. It's like kind of low impact. I'll do like a really whippy cartwheel in the dirt, okay? Holy heavens. It's been a while, but yeah. That wasn't really like a whippy cartwheel. Sometimes I do like a round off thing, but I actually end up facing the opposite direction. But I'm literally seeing stars. It's pretty warm out here. I haven't really done anything like that in quite a while. And anyway, it's just fun, man. I used to say the phrase, I'm in love with movement, right? And I've talked about this, but it was ironic because it was in times when I couldn't move, right? I was going to physical therapy and they weren't fixing my body and things that I've discussed, right? So, yeah, now that my body can just work, I'm more content. Yeah, so, okay. Anyway, there you go. Stick around for the poodles, man. Seriously. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Today is the 21st of May, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. And there's your need to turn right. Okay. The need to turn right. The episode, well, the video's title here. Okay. And yeah, almost certainly, I'm not trying to make any promises, but I'll do a video titled The Need to Look Left, and I'll go over it. I went over it quite a bit in the video titled Workouts Don't Help the Jaw that I just referenced a few minutes ago, but it could be its own video as well. So anyway, right, because it's the same thing as turning right. So thank you.